Hi everyone, it's Katrina and it's Merryl and it's Tag
Hi.
Team Chat.
Yay.
Yay, it's Merryl.
Yeah.
We've got some really in-depth questions that are going to fry everyone's brain. We're going to look at will the protests, all these Black Lives Matter protests, I Can't Breathe protests, will they actually bring about enough change to really, you know, create what has to happen as far as making it a more level playing field and getting rid of this privileged white male system?
Yeah, like really, we know certain things have already been put in place in smaller areas, and local areas are already talking about retraining police and dismantling certain things. But this is systemic, and it's been going for 200 odd years, 250 years almost in America, mirroring what we have here in Australia in a different way.
Well, the British actually started it, didn't they?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Slave trade, which is part of the astrology that's happening to America at the moment, because America is having a Pluto return. Once every 248 years, Pluto goes back to where it was, and it brings up all the roots, all the karma, everything that was shoved underneath. So America built on, you know, religious freedom, but then powered by the slave trade. And in Australia, built on British colonial expansionism and terra nullius, taking the land, saying the land wasn't occupied, and so completely destroying that culture that had been there, the Indigenous culture in Australia for 60,000 years. So that's what we're looking at in America.
Yeah, and we are going to talk a bit later on about the Australian stuff with the Aboriginal, the Rio Tinto blowing up the Aboriginal sites, and there's some news this morning about BHP as well. But the first question we're going to look at is, will the protests in America actually bring about proper change that changes the playing field, changes this systemic bias through all systems, and you know, gives people what they need and what they want, which is recognition that they are actually people, no matter what the colour of the skin. So what's going to come with these protests? You should do an astrology on that, Merryl. Do a bit on the astrology on that.
Oh, the astrology is amazing at the moment. The other thing that America's chart, which is their birth chart, is the 4th of July, coming up also with the Pluto return. So it's the first Pluto return that America, as the United States, has had. And Donald Trump's personal chart is also having a massive Pluto transit. And I can't remember what it is right now. I'd have to go back. But he's there's a massive Pluto transit also going on for Donald Trump that is bringing that. Pluto brings transformation. It unearths all the secrets. It disturbs the roots. And if the roots are corrupt, then Pluto is that god of the underworld that's going to dig it up and have it ready for transition or transmutation, transformation, whatever you want to call death. That's what's happening. So I do feel, you know, we're watching this death of what we in Australia, what we know as America. I'm sure other people are seeing that too, but we're watching America die.
Well, it's a great social experiment that's going through an experiment. And also Donald Trump's birthday is the 14th of June. He's a Gemini, and isn't the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius? So isn't he going to have some exposure? And he does have the Supreme Court making decisions about revealing his tax returns. So, yay, maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, and Supreme Court is a Sagittarius entity, And Sagittarius, in being the south node, is the one that also that's digging up the past, as particularly the last 9 years, the last 19 years, and shoving it, you know, it's being disgorged out the other end.
Yeah.
So it's a really exciting time of change and transition. I'm not the least bit pessimistic. I'm so optimistic about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm not worrying about it. The only thing I'm making sure to do is not to get too hooked up into the media stuff and only look at it like superficially when I really need to. But, you know, I don't, like I got off Twitter. That was driving me nuts. Okay. What I've got is for this question is that overall I've got the Eight of Swords and I've got the Fool as the overall read. So with this ideological, this mental bind that we've had ourselves in, and I'm talking about us, the human race, when it comes to this is the way we live and we cannot change it. This is the way things always have to be. And now we're moving more into that new beginnings, the Fool, and starting on a new path. And I've got here that with all these protests, and it's funny lately, whatever card pops out when I'm shuffling always comes back into the spread when I throw the cards down. And this popped out, and now it's in as these are the protests. This is what's going to change things. I've got the Wheel of Fortune for that. And then I've got celebration, but there's still a lot of worry and concern about how that's going to still, you know, how long do you think we can celebrate for? And there's going to be, you got that too? I got that as the significant, and then I've got crossed by the
moon. Yeah, then I've got it followed by the devil. I've got this on a personal level.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
I always get this, Mel, you know this, the Eight of Cups.
Yeah.
Where there are some people
that for Donald Trump.
I always get that for Donald Trump, and I got it the other day as well, where it just shows that the question was, will Donald Trump be in the White House to hand over to Biden when he loses? And it was, no, he's gone before then. He's going to pack his bags and have a little tanty and chuff off.
Well, you know.
So there are, well, I think what that says is, you know, there's work to be done, but there's going to be people that go, no, I don't want to do that. I'm off. I'm going to go off and pretend that none of this is happening. I'm going to live my life. And then we have Biden come in. This is my card for Biden. Even though he's a Scorpio, but he always comes through to me as the King of Wands, I think because of the opportunity. And even though he is war weary, that's why I think he's only going to do one term, people do start coming out of the rough waters into something calmer. They're still going to carry their wounds with them. That's the only thing.
That wounded was the word I felt when you lifted that up there, Katrina. Yeah. It just feels the wounding. The wounding will take decades.
Yeah. And are we going to include everyone? Like, I really think that it's about time the American Indians got their due. You know, I think this needs to encompass everyone. Hopes and fears, worried about abuse of power again.
Yeah.
Something has to change around that, but the world is going to change. It's going to affect the whole world.
It's the end of that cycle, isn't it? Especially when you had the Wheel of Fortune there too.
Yeah. Exactly. What have you got? You got any other ones that came out?
I did it on are these protests really instigating a systemic change? And I just pulled cards on a personal level, on an attitude level, like the attitude's changing, on a community, or, you know, and police are part of community, and then on a higher destiny sort of level. So on the personal level, yes. On a personal level, there's the system. And King of Cups is the system that's very generous, very loving, very protective, compassionate. You know, I'd use this as my Chuck Schumer. Did I say his name right? Shoemaker card. Thank you. There's the celebration that you got about coming back into this, the masculine working through the feminine of the cups. So the masculine part of water, which is when you get the masculine strength in water, it is just so loving and protective and united. Celebration, but then we've got the devil. So it's on a personal level. People are shocked that the system hasn't been protecting. And there's this celebration to uncover this devil. And this is the slave trade, you know, this is slavery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that benevolence, you know, thinking, oh, you know, what a benevolent place. No. Now there's celebration to uncover it on a personal level. On a mental, on the attitude level, will this bring about systemic change? And we've got my anti-racism card. We are one. It is my card for the future too. So it's about non-binary, fluid, integrating what one level of society was in. Everything's fine. I'm privileged and entitled. And others going, we've tried so many forms of letting you know it's not fine. So on an attitude level, there is this integrating of the we are one. We are all responsible for each other. There's Biden on an attitude level. And here's that loss of trust. So it's the only card I've got reversed. I'm going to read it reversed. Unfortunately, when it's this way, it's beautiful partnership. We can do this. But people are still very untrusting. So I don't know, on an attitude level, there has to be a lot of healing here. On a community level, will this bring about change? There's the good old boys and stuck in the past, the insecurity, holding on. We need it this way. We need police to act like terrorists. We need, defending our small little rights of privilege. But then we got breakthrough, stepping through. It's an opening. So it really is an opening on this community level. Like I said, I would put police and courts, everything above the family protection, I would put on community level. And we've got the truth.
Yeah.
So on a community level, will this break? It's really hard shifting this stubborn insecurity, and it is insecurity. That cop kneeling on the neck and staring off into the distance was insecurity. So we've got the sword of truth, and there is an absolute opportunity to step through and create a connection, a new way for each person to see the other side. So this is very hopeful.
Yeah.
The final one I did was cards on the higher level. So really the level of system, and it's a bit slower. We've got the news coming in, everyone trying to look like they're changing, and it's coming from all sources: COVID, corruption, everything that's raining down, that is saying the system is breaking and broken. And you got this one too. So there's a bit of collaboration. I'm always a bit suspicious of this card, and we do have that broken trust here. But that doesn't mean that Joe Biden breaks trust. He's got big job to do. So I don't know how anyone, if you really want to build up trust, you're going to have to do the healing. You're going to have to sit back and listen.
I wonder.
So we've got this collaboration.
Can I just say, I wonder with that inverted card, whether with the two of the two of cups, is it? Yeah. If that is, because the way the American political system is structured, that if the Republicans still have the Senate, and it's Mitch McConnell has already said if Trump isn't president, if he loses, then Mitch McConnell will refuse to sign any bill the House does into law. He will not do it. Doesn't matter what it is. So that two of cups could be that, that you got They all need to cooperate. But if he's going to continue to be partisan, then
that's this.
Yeah.
It needs this. Yeah, you're dead right.
They really need to win the Senate.
Poos and wees.
Exactly.
All right. So this is that final, change on a systemic level. There's so much raining down to bring on change. There's conversation about it, people feeling inadequate, people feeling they still need a good leader, people feeling they don't have the tools to do this. But also we read this as dark money. So the corruption going on behind it, all the deals, this is the system. It's been run, it's dark money and corruption. And then we get looking at the harvest, waiting, assessing, reevaluating. I'm not seeing in this, I'm seeing a reassessment.
Yeah.
Do you want to draw something on that assessment? See if
on the reassessment,
or does it stay as ooh, that's hard? Because this is like you don't have the tools to dismantle.
That card I still find encouraging because there's one pentacle away from the rest. That's kind of there to plant the seed. I think this is a generational change.
It's Pluto. It has to be generational.
Yeah. Right. Let me see.
So Pluto in the next 3 years is moving into Aquarius. And the other astrology is with Saturn and Jupiter conjunction is actually calling, as Saturn and Jupiter is every 12 years, and it always calls in a new world, a new mini generation.
Yeah. I think that could also be related to one of the questions that we're going to go through today, which is when we have the shift.
Yes.
So anyway, what I've got about going on what you just asked me to draw, I've got the Justice card. So very karmic.
But this is the system. Yes, this is on the systemic level. Yeah.
So this is the big part of the problem is the judicial system, which is such a far-reaching system, such as police, courts, laws, how the intent and the purpose of policing. So one of the interesting discussions I saw in America over the past few days was at what level should police be policing, and should there be more social fix? So, for instance, someone was talking about why are there more legal policing done in high schools than there are counsellors? We're doing it the wrong way around. So this system. Now, interesting. What I got this up.
Ah, good.
But then we've still got the burden to bear.
Well, it's going to be hard. It's been serving certain people to keep it dark and hidden and not transparent.
Yeah. And I think too that it never goes away. You're always going to have the darker elements because we're moving into a thing of, do I serve myself or do I serve the rest of the earth who I'm connected with? We're all one. You're always going to have that self-serve element. So you always are going to have to be vigilant about letting anything start sneaking back in, because the dark elements are very good with their PR jobs, which is how we got into this mess in the first place. Exactly.
Because the deal is already done. It's already signed, sealed, delivered before it comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Lyndon B. Johnson said that if you want a poor white man to be with you, make him feel that there's someone else that he should hate that's beneath him. And Lyndon B. Johnson said that's the black man. So it's a kind of, and that's a Republican Party thing too. Republican Party is really fed into that racism and they've done the racism thing for ever since, what, the 70s. So it's kind of been their tack for a while. So you got to give the poor guy, don't let him attack you, you got to give him another enemy.
Mm.
And I think that's what they've been very successful in doing and developing a message around. And
yeah,
Donald Trump is like that, and a lot of them are like that, the ones in control. So yeah, it is a burden to carry, but I think that's like an eternal burden. I think that's going to be around forever.
Yeah. It's also, that's the us against them mentality, the law of the jungle that says the law of the fittest. So, you know, only the strong survive. So I have to be the strongest. But I've always believed, and there's the other law of the jungle is you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's why you got to do this. And that's, to me, is a symbol of the haves and the have-nots, or those who use control, and those who believe it, love is the power of love.
Yeah,
is the thing that breaks this down.
Yeah, because hate is really just fear. There is fear. It's fear or love. It's not hate or love. It's fear or love. And if you start getting too fearful,
hate is the same vibration of love. It's passion.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Do you think we've answered that? I think you did a great. I think yours was great.
I like yours too, Katrina. Thank you. I think together we're going to solve all the mysteries of the universe. And my goodness, what an exciting time to be solving mysteries. Sorry, this person just...
Someone's chasing you.
They've been ringing all morning, but it's no... All right. Another one we had here... is this the ship? Is one thing we were going to look at?
Yeah, or do you want to do the Oz Karma, because that's kind of in alignment with...
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give a bit of an outline, we saw in the press that Rio Tinto accidentally blew up a 40,000-year-old Aboriginal site, or maybe even more than one, of which they said sorry for. Well, big deal. You should know what you're doing. And in fact, they would have known it was there, because that would have been...
They knew it was there.
It would have
they
been...
didn't do consultation. Or they did vague consultation and then made their own rules. But one thing I've read is actually it was lawful for them to blow up this very, very significant Aboriginal archaeological site. It actually was lawful. So,
you know what that's more of that? That sounds like the Taliban. Is it the Taliban in Afghanistan when they blew up those? No, it wasn't the Taliban. Sorry, excuse me, Taliban. Sorry, it was those crazies in the Middle East when they blew up the Buddhist sites, the old Buddhist sites. God, they're such the name. And they said it's legal. And the whole world went up in arms about it. What's the difference between that and what Rio Tinto did and what BHP is going to do? Apparently they've got approval from I don't know who to blow up area where there are designated Aboriginal sacred sites.
And archaeological surveys that have been recently going on with the results about to come out, which they knew about, it's just such a classic cultural way to demolish cultural links. It, you know, every major dominating power has done this, destroyed language, destroyed community, or like in China, they used Tibetan texts, they use them as their toilet stands. Just not enough just to destroy Tibetan Buddhists, but to make them do toilets standing on the texts. It's very twisted, very ingenious. Animals don't do it like this. Only human beings use this much imagination to destroy cultural heritage. So Rio Tinto is in that level, with this.
What if they found there was a Christian church in a place where they had to blow up to get to their ore? What would they do? You know? Okay. Now we've got to try and be centered, because we're going to ask the question: what karma is Australia bringing onto itself by allowing the destruction of these Aboriginal sacred sites.
Whoa.
Kind of, we're looking at kind of the energy it's creating. Is it going to bounce back on us? You know, what kind of form could that take? What's going on with that?
Yeah.
Oh, another card blew out. Oh,
I'm using top.
that fell out. So 9 of Wands.
Okay. Yeah, they want to watch backs. They would want to watch their backs, you know? Yeah. Okay.
They are going to take the money with them, so they'll be protected, right, Merryl? All privileged white men think they're going to take it all with them, and privileged white men.
We just want to say too, Rio Tinto is a massive international, global, multinational mining company.
Yeah.
It's got mines in Papua New Guinea. It's like a big foresight on this side of the world, and famous for exploiting indigenous natural areas.
Yeah. Well, full transparency, I worked in mining in Mongolia for a company that had to deal with a sacred area, and they did deal with it in a proper way and didn't do what the locals, we had great consultation with the locals, and if they were up in arms about it, if that was really special for them, it didn't get touched. But Rio Tinto is also in Mongolia, and one of the, I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd biggest mine in the world. But, you know, any company, whether you're in mining or whatever, banking, look at what banking does to people. So it's all about this, what kind of karma a corporation is going to be bringing on themselves, and particularly this mining one. So.
Yeah, because in terms of this Pluto transition, Pluto rules the riches of the earth. And part of Australia's karma, we were built on pulling the riches of the earth out of the earth. So it is all these planets in Capricorn, this dismantling of top-down systems. That's part of what Australia's karma will do. Have you got your cards up, Katrina?
I don't. I'm just thinking of the Franklin River, and when uranium mining was a big thing, and how the government of Australia, like when Hawke came in and saved the Franklin, you know, down in Tasmania.
It was a different time, wasn't it? The 70s. Yeah.
God.
So Adani Mine just went through. You know, we've got an Indian-owned company with, you know, it's very out there, their bad record. And they've been given permission by our Australian Liberal government meaning like the Conservative government, to mine Aboriginal land in northern Queensland. And also the Great Barrier Reef is there. So there's massive ecological, environmental impact by mining coal in this day and age in that part of the country.
Yeah. But it's also too, you vote for where your values are, and this isn't like this Liberal government hasn't been in. You know, it's not like all of a sudden they've just been voted in. I think this is their third time they've been elected in. Okay, different leaders. But
only in the was that a brief period and an exciting time for Australia, 70s and 80s. When there was a Labor, which is the equivalent of the Democrats or the left, in Australia's very conservative voters. So we had 20 years of non-stop Liberal government before then, Liberal being the Conservative government. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which upheld the White Australia policy. We've got some foul karma.
And I wouldn't say that the current Labor Party, Albanese, is doing much different. I don't know. Where is he? Can't see him. Okay. So, well, the cards I've got, look, there is going to be some karma here. I mean, here's the thing. It's the sad thing. They've got an opportunity right now. There's an opportunity they could have taken, but they haven't taken it. They've just rushed in and they've been, you know, gone with kind of what they can. And I think it's a thing too of there's so much big stuff going on. Let's see if this can go under the radar. That's the feel I've got of it too. But here we have, this is not going to be good.
Ooh. Yep.
Yeah. They are going to, these are the, So the 4, I think they're going to have to end up being made to withdraw. The feeling I get, I think someone's going to take them to court. I think that some groups are going to put this in front of a court and say, you can't allow this, this isn't right. And we've got someone's going to come in and
yeah.
throw
One feeling I got with that was also investigative journalism, like it being exposed through news coverage. I don't know if you've got other evidence of that, but that's what I felt with.
I don't have anything that I would say is about news or investigation, but I do have where this has to start again. They can't go with what they've currently got. And there's something happening overseas as well, something coming from overseas. And I think in the end, there's going to be a celebration about this. But
I'm just going to on that, what's coming from overseas, if you don't mind there, Katrina. What have I got? I've got delays, blocks, we don't hear you, we can't hear you. What were you saying? Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Chest beating.
There's a magician on the outside of this that's going to cause them a few problems. Let me just... Okay. Well, they're going to have to sit down and negotiate it. The two parties are going to have to sit and negotiate in the end.
Well, that's like the Uluru statement. That's what they put out.
I know, but...
The Uluru statement is so beautiful and simple. It's just like, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah. Just let me look at what that karma is, because... Oh, it's like the karma of, like, the idiot. Like you could have chosen a different path and you didn't, and so now you're going to pay. You've walked off the cliff, and I think this is going to be. I think the mining industry is going to regret that they did this. I think it's going to change, because with the Black Lives Matter and everything happening there, and then this coming out, I think it's the worst possible. There actually, I've clarified, there is going to be an investigation.
So what card is that? That's
the Hermit.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm clarifying with a different deck. It's the Cosmic.
Yeah.
So the Hermit, they're going to have to stop what they're doing and change, because there's an investigation, and it's not going to be just a little it might start with the journalist type style investigation, but this is one that actually changes. It's like a commission. You say it's legal, but
don't change things in Australia.
Sorry, what's that?
Royal commissions don't change things in Australia.
No, that's the banking industry. They're going to have to defend themselves against, there's going to be things from across the water, like the world, saying this isn't right, you shouldn't be doing this.
Got confirmation for that.
Yeah.
It gets exposed on a big level, and there's some new attitude, new thought form, new mentality and consciousness about this.
And it's funny that you talked about, the 70s and 80s, because where I've got the Magician and where I'm clarifying it, I've got the 6 of Cups and the 4 of Cups, like going back to holding on to what's dear, like starting to recognise what's really truly dear to us and holding on to that. There's losses. Yeah, that's confirmed. They're going to lose. There's going to be some losses around for these mining companies, and they're going to be in judgment. They're going to be judged.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I think that the way I'm calling it is that the karma is that there is going to be investigations. There is going to be a change, like in a way, nearly changing to go back to what it was, like saving the Franklin and those types of, like Bob Brown does an amazing amount of work still in Tasmania. Bob Brown Foundation, if anyone wants to check it out. And there's going to be investigations and a change like a groundswell change to this. But the mining industry is going to have some problems. They're going to have to change their tap for sure. Here's the tower.
I guess I've got something similar, and it's so we're looking at what sort of karma is Australia bringing on itself by allowing mining companies to destroy the cultural ties, the historical ties, the archaeological significance, and mining for something that is on its way out. It won't hold in 30 or 40 years anymore. So central card, I've got the High Priestess. So secrets and knowledge. So the karma is being collated and watched, whoever, if you believe in karma or cause and effect, or as above, so below, if you believe in that, it is being held and watched, and it's in the spiritual realm. It is being manifest through the energy. So I say, will there be a karmic kickback? Yes, there will be. Yes, there will be. High Priestess in the middle. Yeah. Below, we've got the Three of Pentacles again. So this is that card that we were showing before, the dark money card, the card of collaboration, the card of calling in other financial partners. Yeah. That's what's sitting underneath. So the karma is built on these collaborations that were forged over money and business and different entities coming together for this common goal of money. It's in the top deck. It's called Works. Where we have in the present is worry. So it's the Five of Pentacles, and Five of Pentacles is poverty card. So where we are now, what's the karma? What sort of karma is coming back? The way that this chase for wealth with interested shareholders and stakeholders has actually created poverty, actually created people left out in the cold. And if you remember the Rider-Waite Five of Pentacles, it's got the little broken people wrapped up in bandages and crutches walking in the snow, and the church is behind them. Church has either locked them out or they're cut off from their spirituality. So this is what's going on. The poverty is a spiritual poverty. The wealth has not really brought wealth. In where we are now is, or where we had Prince of Discs. Again, it's about the money. This is the chase for money, the immaturity around money, the basis of everything is if there's a good economy, we'll be fine. But these other cards are all saying you've neglected the spiritual, cultural, psychological health. Yeah. So we've got this High Priestess surrounded by money, and our end card is the Empress. So what is this doing to the karma by blowing up Aboriginal sites? It's creating the rise of the feminine. So our High Priestess is the feminine, that's the inner world, receptive, intuitive, connected, through all, the all that is. And the Empress is the one that makes flourishing, growth and abundance on the surface. So what we've got is this rise of the feminine. That's what I've got as the karmic kickback.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Yeah. So the money and this, beginning, middle and end thing that comes up with this Three of Pentacles is a very masculine, linear way of doing it. This is saying there is a holistic, creative, new birthing, new growthing way of nurturing the earth and creating abundance. And if I go forward to it, if it's about energy, because that's all the mining and energy companies that are caught up in government and all those levels, there is sustainable and natural ways of doing this. The feminine is rising. And she doesn't like her caves being blown up by Rio Tinto or BHP. She doesn't like that there wasn't consultation. She comes back. She regrows. Yeah. The Empress is the one to send a bushfire through and cleanse the land, and then she can create all the regrowth that brings everything back.
Yeah.
I say yes.
You know what's really kind of sad in a way is that I always felt that the bushfires was that cleansing, because
Yeah.
the Australian bush, the Australian land, that's how it does regenerate. And all the pain and blood, sweat and tears that went into, you know, dealing with that situation, and now it hasn't, that didn't change the way that, I mean, it might change the way that everyday people think in a lot of them, but it didn't change the way that the system thinks or what the system values. Their value system hasn't changed at all, even to the point of giving Tony Abbott a bloody OAM or whatever it is for services to Aboriginal, whatever. I mean, are they completely off their noggins? I mean, do they not have any kind of shame at all, like Tony Abbott? I mean, honest to God. But so, look, I think you're right.
Like old boys now.
Yeah.
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 I just thought through.
Sorry, Katrina, go on.
Oh, okay.
Well, just the last eclipse we had, we're having an eclipse on the 21st on solstice. The last eclipse we had was on the 31st of December. And it was indicative of that massive bushfire crisis. It was COVID had come out in China, but they hadn't told it. You know, it was at the time where they were silencing the doctors who were noticing something was going on. So that eclipse, 31st of December, was a huge shift, and we've got the pair of that eclipse going on the 21st.
Yeah.
So it's this. I linked COVID and the bushfires and climate change in the one bag, because it was all when Pluto and Saturn were doing their conjunction. Yeah. So we're still in that, trying to look at it from the other side.
Yeah, it's, I mean, how often do things, we're given the opportunity, but how long is it going to take? How many times do these things have to happen before these, the system? But here, the Australian people have to vote differently. And the right people have to be standing to give them the opportunity of seeing what difference is. And I'm not sure Labor's really fulfilling that at the moment. But I just threw 3 cards just to say, look, where there is going to be karma, where does that go? And I got the Ace of Cups.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And the 2 of Swords. But the feeling I get with this, that I find the 2 of Swords is one of card that has so many meanings. Like, you could sometimes interpreting it isn't always the easiest, but the first thing that came to me was saying, look, no more, I'm not looking behind at what you all did. I'm not looking, look at that flood of emotion, and I'm not going to go back and look. I'm just going to keep moving forward. I'm making a really clear decision here. It's the woman making a really clear decision and saying, I'm moving forward. I'm not going to look back anymore on that. And then we've got the 2. They're all, well, it's 2 2s. The 2 of Wands. I'm looking for the world. The world, he's holding the world in his hands. I'm dealing with the world, not just myself. I'm going to look at the world. And that's, I think that it's not just going to be one area. I don't think it's just America. I think there's stuff going on in Australia. You've got the stuff happening in the UK. You've got stuff happening in Africa all the time. Middle East, look at that. So I don't think it's...
Hong Kong, China.
Hong Kong, China. Well, look at China.
Hong Kong.
Yeah, you've got Brazil. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. We were going to look at the shift.
That's right.
Favourite subject.
Are we really in paradigm shift? Because astrologically, the answer is yes. Pluto in Capricorn is the breakdown of traditions and systems and traditional methods of structure and support and security. It goes in, it's in Capricorn once every 248 years. But the reason this one is very powerful is because there was a convergence of 8 planets, I think, all in Capricorn, all involved breakdown And over the next 3 years, it's already started. There's huge planetary shifts and long-term planetary shifts moving into air signs from the earth signs and the water signs. The earth and water signs are this feminine. The air signs are moving into faster, technological, a different way of communicating, a different way of living in a different frequency. We're literally moving into a different level of frequency. If you think about Capricorn being very, it climbs the mountain. So the mountain has to be there in order for you to climb it. And moving into Aquarius, which is about freedom, revolution, independence, sustainability, we are one. That's the law of one. Aquarius is the law of one. We are one. It's called the water bearer, but it's actually an air sign. The symbol is two sort of wavy lines. They represent ether. It's beyond water. It's a level above emotion.
Yeah. We love that. Merryl and I were talking about the law of one before we started recording, so that was keen interest for both of us. Okay, so in case people haven't really don't know about this, the new Earth or paradigm shift or shift, it's got lots of different names. Age of Aquarius, or you don't know about the law of one. Look, go and discover the law of one on YouTube. There's lots of videos if you don't want to sit and read. Brian Scott does a great explanation of law of one. Aaron Abke, ABKE, does a good explanation. And the law of one is a channeled book by Ra, who answers every question with I am Ra to get the frequency in. And the law of one is about how the structure happens. Earth is moving into a fourth density, not a fourth dimension, but a fourth density. And that some spiritual, like us as spirits, us as souls, will move into that. Others will stay with the more third density level and eventually do what they need to do. Everyone has their own path. It's not good, it's not bad. So the new Earth, the paradigm shift, the age of Aquarius, that's what our question is about. And we're saying, is this the shift? Is this the new Earth? Merryl thinks astrologically that the time is right for it.
It's hands down. Yeah.
Lay down the chair. Put all your money on the table. You can't lose this bet. But let's also ask, what do we see coming with that? With this shift? Is it the way we think it is? Is it the way we're hoping it is? Or is there some what don't we know about it?
That's good. I think also because Earth changes and era changes, they take, hundreds, maybe thousands of years to happen.
Yeah.
So tarot isn't great with time because time is holistic. So I'm going to just also frame a little thing about something, for me, the interest is Pluto in Capricorn, and then the whole planetary shifts, the outer planets moving into air signs, the eclipses moving into air signs, the shifts are all going to be in air signs, meaning that communication, technology, less physical, less dependence on the physical and the material. It's about the exchange of ideas and innovation. Mm. So I'm going to actually ask about in terms of the astrological shifts.
Okay. Mm. Well, I think I'll come at it more from that we are one, At the moment, it looks like everything's falling apart, or I actually think it's falling together. So how much, are we going to have more of this stuff coming up? Or are we going to start seeing things coming together more?
Mm. So I've got
okay.
The central card is the Eight of Pentacles. I'm using this absolutely beautiful Orion's tarot deck,
Nice.
which is illustrated actually by a Melbourne illustrator called Ambisun, and it's got a lot of native Australian animals, and it's got this beautiful rainbow shimmer to it. Really nice, futuristic, and yet in the present card. So the central card, Eight of Pentacles, that card of assessing. What I've got here is it looks like we're in an incubation period, but it's crossed with the King of Swords, which is that move into the air sign, move into Aquarius. So where science is takes a leap, where the philosophy is more about equality and independence, sustainability, and autonomy. So what I've got, Eight of Pentacles being that assessment. There's an assessment, and the shifts we're incubating is what I've got still. We're in incubation. We've got Ace of Swords behind us, so this is the realization, waking up, the consciousness coming alive. And the more, I think when the outer planets are really in Aquarius, which is the King of Swords, this reflection and reevaluation and looking at what has money brought us, what has capitalism and materialism brought us, that's where things start to shake. And it's moving into the Nine of Pentacles, which is, again, people not wanting to really let go of the luxury, of the material luxury, of thinking they've got enough. But I think with the age, with the Aquarian and air influence, you realise that material doesn't mean everything. We're doing this. You're in Malaysia right now. I'm in Melbourne. You know, we are not physically connected.
But we're connected another way.
And and it's a big fat duh. Like duh.
Like we even own the same jumper. Like that's how connected.
Exactly.
I've got that jumper. Saw her with the jumper. I'm going, I bought that jumper at Myers. Yeah. I was in Sydney and I froze to death.
Of all the jumpers of all the world. And I bet you haven't worn it. So, you know, I'm in Melbourne. It's freezing.
When I come to Melbourne next, I'll wear it.
Okay. So we've got this moving into the Nine of Pentacles, which is sometimes I call the trophy wife. But it's why I think, you know, are we on a paradigm shift? My cards, I think, are saying we're still in incubation. Underneath, because it's hard to let go of what the material comforts and what we love. I mean, since COVID, we hugging, which is such a thing to do for most white cultures. Asian cultures, no. Asian culture is very much about standing back and giving respect and bowing the head. Yeah. So it's almost even in terms of touching each other, the customs are showing us, you know, you can do this separately. Underneath, I've got the moon. Are we in a paradigm? Is this the change? So the moon is telling me the fears are still rising. The dark way is there. It's a dark time, and I'm going. Although I haven't got a Hanged Man, and we end on the Four of Swords, which is it's still dying off. Actually, and that's a sloth hanging upside down. It's as close as I've got to the Hanged Man, because my assessment is I'm getting, as far as the astrology goes, we're in a suspended incubation phase. The fear has to arise. The fear has to really come up. If you're in a birth, I guess this is when you're giving birth, that transition phase where you're thinking, I don't want to have the baby now. Everyone can go home. I'm done. And it's like you're having a baby. It's coming.
Just before the show. But also, too, that is one of the nicest moon cards I've seen.
Isn't it beautiful?
I just love that. Do you think that also means that underneath, because you got that as below, right?
Yeah.
That's the feminine waiting underneath, a bit like Persephone and waiting underneath to come out when it's right.
That's exactly, and Pluto series, the Earth Mother, Pluto, the Lord of Death, and the Earth Mother had to make an agreement before Persephone could come out. Well spotted. I'm going to draw on that.
Yeah.
Knight of Pentacles.
So which one is that?
That's Pluto. Isn't that beautiful?
I love
Isn't
that.
it gorgeous? They
Is it,
even feel beautiful.
Merrill, which one of Pentacles is it?
Sorry, King. Sorry, Knight.
Oh, the Knight.
Knight.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking King. King of Pentacles, I would say, is Pluto, God of riches. Knight of Pentacles is around work, is around doing anything for money. I forgot what I was drawing clarification on. You probably don't remember either.
I would have. Well, it was kind of like clarifying the Pluto, Persephone, aspect of feminine, the work to be done. So I would say that means there's more work to be done for the feminine to come out.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Because you might think differently.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for that. And just the bee being the male, the masculine is the drone, is the worker bee.
Yep.
It's all he does. It's the queen who gives the endless fertility.
That's right, the way it should be.
Mm.
I like that. Those are beautiful cards.
Yeah,
Merrill.
these are beautiful cards. They're so blah.
They've got such
Look
a
at the
great
back of them.
feel about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you put that on the page. Yeah.
That's very Age of Aquarius, this Kickstarter. This whole thing about you need money to get your thing out there. No, you need community support to get your thing out there. Even that's changed. Yeah. Mm.
Absolutely.
What have you got, Big Katrina? Big cat?
Well, I looked at it like, where are we at with it? Like on I'm not asking for a time frame, but I'm looking at how much more of, stuff that's going to be ripped apart are we going to have? And I've got that there's still, we still can't say that even just with this last Black Lives Matter that we're having success. This is just going to be ongoing, as you said. We're incubating. This is, I think, I agree with you at the beginning of the setup. I've got the Ace of Wands and the Queen of Cups. So and I'm using the Hermetic deck for this one because this is one of my fave decks. And the Ace of Wands is the Lord of the root of the power of fire. So it really is about still the fire aspect, like what has to kind of really be burnt down before we can build up again. And the Queen of Cups, which is saying, look, we're still challenged by, we still don't know everything. There's still stuff coming out. This isn't the end of it. So don't think it's over. I've got the Three of Swords in the past. So we've still got those fights and that. They're kind of the fights and the more aggressive stuff's in the past. I do have the Hangman in as below.
Yeah.
And above, I've got the Princess of Cups. So, which is kind of nice. Like, even though things were kind of like stuck in a bubble in a way, we're kind of hanging there, but the Princess of Cups is still on top. There's still lots of emotions. I think there's the systems. I think there's the emotions. We've got a lot of emotions at the moment. And then the next step's going to be with the rebuilding, or how do you want it? Now that you've got what you wanted, how do you want it to look? You wanted to get rid of it. How do you want it to look? We've got the Eight of Cups, which is we still have more to get rid of. So that walking away from what we don't need anymore, we've still got that. And I do have the Moon as well. Yeah. But we do have a lot more to happen yet. I mean, there's a lot of different systems that we all experience, some more than others. But the ending is the Knight of Cups. The other thing it's saying is don't be afraid of doing the work. Don't be afraid of it. And we're not going to have 100% move along with it. There are some that just don't want to know about it. So
I feel that the new ways. We've got to work out different ways of doing difference and division.
Yep.
Some of these, this systemic stuff began, and also the Pluto conjunctions, you know, there's a link to 500 years ago, which is basically the beginning of the slave trade. So, you know, using human beings as a commodity.
Yeah, to make money. And I think also too, with that Princess of Cups, one of the things about moving into a fourth density is, and if we look at the chakra system, it's the time of, we're moving out of our solar plexus chakra, which is about our power, more our ego, and moving into that fourth density, having this new earth, the new paradigm shift, all of that, we're moving into our heart chakra. And I don't know if you've had it, but when before COVID and I was having clients come in and we were doing work on chakras and stuff like that and using my crystals, nearly everything was heart chakra with thymus. And I used those crystals and that work for nearly everything. And I think with this shift, a lot of emotion, as the Princess of Cups pointed out there, is we're going to have a lot of emotion. Our emotions are going to be, you know, really kind of pushed and pulled, and we're going to have, and I think a lot of people experience that from December. We were talking about 31st of December. A lot of people with the full moons, I know I did, had really tough time. Then there's a lot of emotional full moons. So we're moving into this heart chakra, an emotional aspect of connecting via the love, one of the things that we were talking about before. And then we're going to move into, later on, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we move into that more, the throat chakra and the other higher chakras about, well, you know, we can't just all like throw love out and then expect that's all there is. You have to actually have wisdom with the heart chakra. So every step gives us something that we have to tussle with. And moving into heart chakra doesn't mean it's all going to be a bed of, you know, roses. It means we still have to learn how to manifest and deal with that energy in a wise way. We're using our wisdom. So there's still, like, I think that it's still going to be a very emotional time coming up.
Yeah, if leaving the solar plexus has that masculine energy of I want it, it's mine. I want it, I'm taking it. And the heart chakra is about compassion. You know, embracing difference, resolving difference, and coming through to a point of empathy and compassion that we are one. And something else and something else. Yeah, great description there. I can see that. Also, what I'm thinking is moving away from that around the reality of materialism and material and physical and all of that. And in terms of money, it's coming away from you've got to have a room full of money, of money to feel safe, to money is an energy. It is an energy. And you don't necessarily have to have a room full of money to have the energy of abundance or enough or safety.
I think it's also about power. That solar plexus is, if we hadn't manifested money, we would have used something else to make sure that we were powerful. And
before there was money, it was like pig tusks. It was shells. You know, I've got the shells that came from the other part of the island, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all transactional.
Yes, transactional, thank you. Maybe that's also that Two of Cups we were getting, because the transaction of that is equality, is like I give and you receive and I receive and you give, and we're doing it at the same time. Exactly. And the Temperance card, it's not transactional. It's not. It merges. It flows.
Water.
It's on a scale.
Right.